Hello and welcome back. I'm Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration A.P.C. where we fight for your American dream. Today we're talking about green cards again, but specifically I want to tell you about the Affidavit of Support, all right, which is on Form I-864. And the I-864, it's it's one of these forms where the instructions about how to fill out the form are actually longer than the form itself. Like it looks simple, but it's actually really complicated how to fill out the I-864, all right? And sometimes you need a sponsor, and sometimes you need a joint sponsor, and sometimes you need co-sponsors, which means two joint sponsors, right? Because you've got to show that you will not be a quote-unquote public charge. Because if immigration believes that you're going to be a quote-unquote public charge, then they'll say that you're inadmissible and they'll deny your application for a green card, all right? So, but what I want to explain is how to tell whether or not your sponsor makes enough money to be your sponsor, all right? And remember, for a person to sign the Affidavit of Support, they've got to at least be a green card holder or they can be a U.S. citizen, all right? So what the law says is that typically you have to show that you make 125% of the federal poverty guidelines, okay? 125% of the federal poverty guidelines. So I printed out the screenshot of what is the form I-864P. So if you're wondering where I get these numbers from, you can Google it. You can Google I-864 and then the letter P, which stands for poverty guidelines, all right? And if you look on it, for a family of two, which means one person who's paying their taxes, all right, who's completely single, zero dependents, no spouse, is petitioning for you. So it's that individual plus you. That person, all right, would need to show a minimum, 125% of the federal poverty guideline, a minimum of $21,137 in the year 2019, which is when I'm shooting this, in order to be your sponsor, all right? So if it's one person sponsoring one immigrant, we're talking $21,137. Imagine there's a person with a wife and with two children who's sponsoring you and your wife, all right? Imagine that's the situation. That's a total of 6 people. So imagine there's a total of 6 people that is required. Well, the 125% of the federal poverty guidelines for a family of 6 is $43,237. Again, if you want to figure that out, look at the I-864P, and you can look at that. Now there's some wrinkles here, all right? Imagine they make no money. They have no income at all, but they have like 6 houses or something, all right? You can use assets if you don't have income, all right? You can use assets if you don't have income. And so just because your sponsor doesn't have income doesn't mean they can't sponsor you at all. They've got to have assets instead of income, all right? The other thing is that if your sponsor is a member of the United States military, all right? If your sponsor is a member of the United States military, they're allowed to make less than 125%. They're allowed to make down to 100% of the federal poverty guidelines, all right? Which for a family of 6 is $34,590. I don't personally know how a family of 6 can survive on $34,590, but that is the poverty guideline, all right? That is the federal poverty guideline, all right? And that level for a military family is allowed to sponsor, all right? A sponsor up to 6 total dependents, all right? Self and dependents included. All right. So with the Affidavit of Support, you've got to show typically 3 years of tax returns. You've got to show current annual income, which means, current pay stubs. We like to show at least the last 90 days, last 3 months of pay stubs. We want to show a letter from your employer that says you're gainfully employed, you're a good employer, you're going to keep your job, and what your salary is, all right? And we package all of that up. You sign it. You got to show proof you're a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. When you sign that form, it means that you're going to be on the hook, right? if that immigrant, if that person needs welfare, for example, or public assistance, for example, within the next 10 years, all right, the government can now come to you for a reimbursement of that, of whatever assistance that the government is providing that immigrant. All right, so that's essentially what you're saying. You're saying that that this person is not going to be a public charge. They're not going to be requiring public assistance for the next 10 years or until they become a U.S. citizen. All right, and that's what you're signing. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this. I'm Otis Landerholm Immigration A.P.C. If you have questions about the Affidavit of Support, it can be pretty complicated. If you have questions about the Affidavit of Support, please put yourself in communication with my office and with my legal team. We are awesome and we are here to help. All right? Otis Landerholm Immigration A.P.C. We fight for your American dream. Thank you so much.